What's up, YouTube? The Renegade has dropped another little surprise on us. It has a squeak every once in a while I'm driving it, and my suspect is the U-joint. There's a little bit of play in it. I don't know if you guys can see that or hear it. Let me get a better angle. But yeah. And it doesn't squeak all the time, but it squeaks sometime, and so it's best to go ahead and replace it now before it completely goes apart, and then if it goes apart it can destroy your diff or your gearbox. So if you're starting to notice that it's going out, it's got some play in it, just go ahead and replace it. That way you don't have to go through future costly expenses, such as if it would go apart and bust and hit this or that, because U-joint's a lot cheaper than a diff or a gearbox. So first things first, we're going to take the wheels off on both sides. Next, we're going to remove the plastic piece right here that's at the back diff. You got a 10 millimeter right here, and you have a 10 millimeter right there on the inside as well. And so you got one on this side and one on that side to remove. Then you have that one up there to remove, and that one right up there as well. And when you're finished, I always like to put the nuts and bolts back in the original holes so I know where they are. And so when I grab a part, I already have all the bolts and stuff that I need for that specific part. It's also a great time to clean those hard to get areas, like this big old clump of mud, which I'm pretty sure is from Deep Creek. That stuff just never leaves you. So, you know, clean this as well. Gosh, this doesn't want to come out. There we go. Take a little bit of each part home with you. And again, this is why we are replacing this. It has a lot of play in it. Well, not a lot compared to some people's, but it's just enough that you can hear occasionally every once in a while riding. So I figured, why not replace it? The next step is to get the brake caliper off. You can use a 13 millimeter or a 1/2 inch, and you got a bolt here and a bolt there to remove. That one in the middle was a little difficult to get out, but once you get it started, it's easy to come out. And you'll pull it off. And again, you don't want this to hang by the brake cable, so when you pull this off, place it on something so it doesn't pull your brake cables. Also, a good time to check to see if you need brakes. And I need to get some brakes. Yeah, definitely need to get some brakes. I'm going to take this cover off right here. It's only 2 bolts, and they are both 10 millimeters, just to get easier access to the front part of the drive shaft. And again, I took off this bolt and this bolt down here so I could get to the drive shaft in the front better. The bolt that needs to come off right here is a 13 millimeter, and it's a little tricky to get to. And if you need to, you can put the bike in neutral and twist it a little bit so you can get a better angle to put your wrench in there to get this bolt to back out. And also, it'd probably help if you'd spray some liquid wrench or something in there, because if you're like me and you're a mudder, it's going to be covered in mud. Probably, you know, it's going to take a while to get it out. Yeah, keep that in mind when you reinstall it. That's the front one, and the rear one we got to take out is a 15 millimeter. Now that everything is off, you can get a better idea how worn this is. So imagine under driving conditions, it would have a lot of play in it. To get this 15 millimeter out back here on the bolt that's towards the rear differential, I had to use my stubby and then another wrench, and to get enough leverage to get this bolt to turn. This one was a lot harder to get out than the 13, but once you get it started pretty good, you can do the rest by hand. Also, to slide the differential back, you're going to have to unloosen the 4 bolts that hold it in, and they're both 15s. The bolts are on this side and the nuts are on this side. After that, you're going to slide the rear diff about 1.5 inches back, and then that way you can get the drive shaft out. So I had to end up going to Harbor Freight to get some better snap ring pliers because mine were not strong enough to take these snap rings out. but at least I know I'll have a good kit that'll last me a pretty good time for what I do and use it for. I suggest making a line so you know where the drive shaft lines up to the yoke at on both sides. Basically, get your snap ring pliers, put in there, and take the snap ring out. I like to put my hand over it as I'm taking it out, so if it flies somewhere, because I have a tendency to do that, it won't go too far. It'll usually land like right here or something, somewhere close. Or you can use a rag or something to put on top of it. Got this long line right here, these couple lines for the number side. Let's see, there's war part that's right against there, which I need to put to get that replaced. Taking this to my friend's shop to get the bearings pressed out because I could not get them to come out, and because he has a press and he pressed the new ones in for me and greased them all up already. So when you install this, you're going to want to put grease on the ends of both of them, so you know they'll go on there with some. Put your grease on, you're going to slide it onto the rear differential at the back, and then once that's on, you can slide it onto the motor part, or the part of the engine, and then once that's on, you're going to push the diff back forward to get it back in its original slots where it needs to be. Once you get those bolts in, I just put them in there loose just so I can move the diff around a little bit to get them all the way in. There's that one, that one, that one, that one. The 13mm goes up to the front. The 15 goes in the rear. Don't forget them. And there's a little bit of Loctite on them as well, so don't forget to reapply that when you install. Put it in neutral and rotate this so you can get the best angle when you're putting the new, or the bolt back in. Don't forget your Loctite on it as well.